Hello, everybody. Welcome into the Apples and Geno's Fantasy Hockey Podcast. My name's Nate Niblink. I'm the creator of Apples and Geno's, originator of the Zero G draft strategy. And in this podcast, Blake and I are drafting our Experts Keeper League live. Let's get it. Now, of course, I have your friend and my best friend, the man with no picks in this draft. It's Blake Creamer. Blake, how are we feeling tonight?
Yeah, that doesn't even rhyme. All right, you've given up, Nate. And has anyone seen such a smug, happy individual here? That this guy, first off, he's going to get into it, but Nate has a bunch of picks at the front of the draft here. We're about to get smashed here. This is basically just like watching a car crash in slow motion, and I'm here for it.
Yeah, well, you made a pretty good run in this league last year, Blake. You went up right to the finals, and then something happened kind of at the end. Like it happens to the best of us. Sometimes you get right there, but you can't quite perform at the 11th hour, and it's
medication
okay.
for that. And next time I'm going to look into that because it happens to everybody, right, Nate?
I think it happens to 44-year-old men more often than 33-year-old men, but that's just conjecture.
Yeah. Just talking drafts here, people. That's
yeah. What are you talking about?
I'm talking about a draft. That's fine.
Well, we should let the people know what's going on here. 2 minutes till the draft gets started, but this is we call ourselves Experts League that I run. We got a whole host of characters in here. We got 18 skaters in here. We got a couple of guys from the Discord, Mark Skinner and Reese's Pieces. Those legends are in here. We got Fired Up in here. We got Fantasy Hockey Trades. James is in here. We got Raj from Five Hole. We got Binksy and Hutch in here. We got Devin from Fantasy Hockey Hacks. Amateur Dan I missed as well, part of the Discord. And then this guy down here at the bottom, he's in here as well. This is basically a couple settings. We can run through it real quick. 4.5 points per goal, 3 points for assists, 0.5 for a shot on goal and for a block, 0.25 for hits. On the goalie side, wins are 2, goals against minus 1.5, saves 0.3, shutouts 2. They are pretty light on the goalie settings, and I like that.
What a coincidence.
Yeah, I don't know. Somehow when I get to create the league, the goalie settings turn out to be kind of light. I don't know what that is, but that is how it goes. Okay. We got Michael in here watching out for that D-Run Boys giggity. That's addressed at you there, Blake, I believe. We got Toronto Dave in here, hashtag 0G. Appreciate you showing through. Fired Up, only drafting goalies. We'll be sniping all your picks, boys. I don't think those two statements go together whatsoever, so you might have to make a choice.
Don't tell them that, Nate.
Yeah, sorry. I shouldn't be giving away all my strategies. I don't think anybody knows that I'm likely to go 0G in this draft, so I should be a little bit more cautious. That's for sure. All right, we are 15 seconds away. Oh, yeah, I wanted to take a moment. I got my Scepters shirt on. Showing some love to the Toronto Scepters, PWHL.
That's a badass name. I got to say that. It's awesome. I'm taking a Scepter, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's fine.
I'm going to turn off those draft sounds because that is atrocious. Mishkov goes. That is not who I thought. Wow, that is interesting. Obviously, based on the keeper status, I did not think Hutch was going to go Mishkov. That makes it a little bit interesting at the top. Talk to me, Blake. I've got to make a pick here.
Yeah,
you talk to the people.
That is keeper leagues are so different and people have different strategies, but this is only a keep 3. So even next season, are you going to keep Mishkov over some of the studs that you end up drafting on your team? I don't know. Sounds like it, but I mean, that's a spicy meatball there. I'm still not even sure this guy's going to get over 16 minutes time on ice. Nate, I don't know. Where you at? And why don't you talk about that in your pick as well?
Yeah. I'm not sure how I feel about that. Like, I thought he was going to go Eichel for sure. Skinner immediately jumps on that. Yep. Mark Skinner jumps on that, which is what I thought would happen. That leaves me Hedman at 3, and I'm happy about that. But yeah, the Mishkov pick, like, I guess looking ahead to next year, maybe Hutch is thinking Dougie Hamilton, Luke Hughes in the building. Does Luke Hughes take away some of that? Sidney
Yep.
Crosby getting older. He wants that lockdown stud, and Mishkov absolutely could be that guy. He could be a guy that we're talking about the way we talk about Connor Bedard with 100-point potential this year. We could be talking about Mishkov the same way this time next year. That's definitely a possibility, but it is a swing. There's no two ways about it. And it's a swing a little bit more for the future, right? Like, you're giving Jack Eichel to your competition and you're taking a 30-40 point haircut most likely on the season. Yeah, it's an interesting way and a way that you only get in keeper drafts, which is good.
The thing is, too, Josh has a bunch of picks here in the first like 5 rounds of this draft. So, I mean, not that that's a throwaway, but he can kind of play a little bit, like have that upside play with his first pick and just lock it down. But I
Mhm.
see Mishkov going in the first round. I honestly didn't.
Yeah. Yeah, he does have another pick that he's on the clock with right now. So that definitely is playing into it for him, I'm sure. So we'll see what he goes with the second one. I imagine now he'll go back to production.
Yeah.
Yeah, goes with Kyle Connor. Yeah, this draft board is gonna get a little bit crazy with the keeper selections and people making multiple picks in multiple rounds. Like I got 2 picks in round 5, and I got 3 picks in round 6. So this is gonna fill up for me a lot faster than it's gonna fill up for people like Blake who didn't win and also don't have any picks this year. But yeah, maybe we should talk to some comments here, Blake.
Let's look at these comments because I'm already depressed.
Fired Up's talking to us. He's crazy like that. He's
He is.
unpredictable.
That is, and he wears collared shirts. Actually, t-shirt with the blazer. Fired up. You're firing me up with your wardrobe, buddy. Beautiful head of hair on that man as well.
Absolutely. Ooh, we get a goalie. Shesterkin going to fantasy hockey trades.
Thank you.
That's one that you have to expect. Good solid Rangers fan there. Getting Adam Fox, getting Igor Shesterkin. This draft board is hard to look at. Like it's
Yeah,
actually
it's weirding
actively
me out.
throwing
Yep.
me off.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
I've
who's
got a
up?
yeah. You got to look over at the left. You can't be
Right. Okay.
stuck looking at the draft board. I know you don't have to worry about it because you don't have
Oh,
any picks,
geez.
Blake. But
God, this is
the
horrible.
rest of us here, I'm gonna make as many of these
Yeah. Oh,
jokes as I
buddy.
possibly can until we're actually into it.
You know what though? To me, I feel like of the three of us, like Reese's Pieces, 18 Skaters, and I all kind of went in. We went all in and traded away our picks to try and win the league. I feel like of those three, I've got the best outcome here with my picks. So I don't feel terrible about that. But still, I mean, I'm either third last or dead last. So I'm looking for third last. And, maybe if I can get in the middle range there, maybe I could squeak into the playoffs. I don't know, but I just can't imagine what my team is going to look like.
Yeah, that part is tough. I usually end up going like last year. I was like ready to try last year. I was in the same
Mhm.
position last year that you're in this year. I'm gonna use up some clock here as I try to get my sheets in order. But yeah, last year I was in the same position as you. Really didn't have a lot of picks, but I was willing to give it the old college try, and that lasted till about I don't know halfway through the season. I was like, yeah,
Yeah.
this thing isn't gonna make it across the finish line. So I focused instead on getting some picks here. Did okay there. I've got some options here. I like a bunch of names, but I think I know what I'm gonna do. I think I'm gonna get some left wing, right wing on my team. Cole
Nice.
Caulfield. Yeah, I feel good about that. He was one of the higher ranked guys on my board from the start, so I actually
Yep.
feel like that's actually a bit of value into the 5th round here in these particular settings. I think Caulfield just kind of crushes the shots, the goals, the stuff that matters in this format. So
Mhm.
I think I feel pretty good about that one. How do you feel about that one, Blake? Is that
Yeah.
a bad one or
Oh,
a
no,
good one?
not at all. To me, I mean, he's showing out very similar to what you probably have in your rankings. Caulfield's real high for me. Yeah, and there's lots of value there too. Like if you're in a, kind of a taco league or like a home league, like Caulfield's one of those guys I've been getting a little bit later on, but in a sharp league like this, you have to take Caulfield there because like this guy's got 40 goal upside, 50, honestly, if we want to get crazy, but yeah, he's going to have to go on a shooting percentage bender, but we think that's definitely going to go up this year. this thing with Line, man, that pisses me off.
Yeah.
Like, what the? I hate this. Like, what's going on with the preseason? Like, the guy actually was pretty damn jacked up to be on the team. It looked good. Like, you got Lane Hudson out there whipping the puck around, like a little bit of fun stuff in Montreal, and now this. So, I think it's just going to equal more touches for Cofield. Maybe a net positive for him. He's back to probably big minutes this year.
Yeah. Yeah. The only thing that you could say is, Line just being a really talented dude could add something to that power play that they didn't have before. But there was always the chance too that like they feel like he's actually a better fit in that spot where Cofield has done his work on that power play, and that actually negatively affects Cofield. So there's a bit of uncertainty there. I talked about that a little bit in the high risk, high reward players.
Yeah.
But yeah, Mackenzie Weegar goes. That was actually my target. I was actually pretty interested in Mackenzie Weegar with my next pick. So that's a bit of a gut punch. We won't deny it. But
you poor boy. Oh my God. Are you going to be okay, Nate? You didn't get Mackenzie Weegar. Oh my God.
So Weegar, like on the top power play, like right from
I like
day
that.
one. Like I know we talked about. There's a chance that he doesn't go. He doesn't last there all year, right?
Yeah.
We talked about that possibility, but like, man, it's tough to see how he doesn't provide like massive value as long as he's there. And however long it lasts, I think you're going to be pretty happy. I'm on the clock here. I'm basically just debating if I can take a center only again. I have Barkov as one of my keepers who's center only. We do have 2 utility spots in this league, which is making me feel a little bit better about it, but we all know there's always crazy good value on C only late. I think I am going to do it though, just because I want to have this guy on my team. I haven't got him on a team lately, and I feel really good about getting Vinny Tro, friend of the show.
You're just picking up my scraps here, buddy. I had Tro, and then he traded me for Barkov in the offseason here. He's just picking up my scraps because he saw a winning strategy, and now he's trying to recreate it. Is that what's happening, Nate?
That's exactly what's happening.
That's what I thought.
I basically just tail all your picks all year, and that's how we get to biz.
Yeah, that is something.
I've got another pick here. I don't think there's anybody at defense that's really calling my name. I have 2 top end defenders with Yossi and Hedman, and so I feel like I can go back to the wings here and start to build that out. This could be a fun spot to get crazy with it, but I think I'm going to stick with a guy who I am anticipating to have a big year. I'm going to go with Kevin Fiala with this pick here and add him to the squad. I feel really solid about this group so far. Yeah. How do you feel about this team, Blake? Are you gonna compete with me this year?
There's no way in hell. It just can't happen. Like, and I was talking to Nate earlier, like if you look at my keepers here, I got Leon Draisaitl, Philip Forsberg, and I kept Matt Boldy over Barkov and Trocheck, who both kind of were a little bit higher ranked to me than Boldy this year. But I'm not mailing it in because I'm going to do my best, but I have very little picks here. I'm just going to be treading water. So I took Boldy sort of for the future, right? For the next season. So that was kind of my thought there. And that's about my level of compete probably this year, but who knows? It's fantasy hockey. Like it's a luck-based sport. I'm sure I'm going to get some good players, but honestly, I'm still not picking for another 2 rounds. What am I doing here? For God's sake.
We are definitely going to bring out the band when you do finally get to make a pick here.
Appreciate that.
We should get back to some comments. What team didn't keep Eichel? I believe Eichel was on Mark's team, 18 skaters. He had kept Hughes, Brady, Tkachuk, and Timo Meier. I guess you could make the argument Meier versus Eichel, but he already had Hughes and Tkachuk, both center eligible players, so that probably factored into it a little bit with Meier. I think it's a conversation between Meier and Eichel, probably both going in the 3rd round. Yeah, I think it makes some sense. Nate must be pumped. Hellebuck is back in the drafting pool. Absolutely. If I auto draft, I only auto draft Connor Hellebuck. If you know, you know.
There you go. This is for real now, Nate. You better watch yourself.
This is for real. So I'm thinking about a few different things here. There's still defensemen, but there's still like a little bit of a tier of defensemen. I got like, you can see if you look over on the left, I've got like 3 picks in between all of my next 4 picks. 3 picks, 4 picks in between there, 3 picks in between there. So I've got like, it's not like a whole ton of players can just get running off. And so I think I'm going to stick to the plan a little bit here. That was the plan, actually. Alex Tuck was the plan, and now he's gone. So now I'm just completely disconsolate. Blake, you talk to the people while I figure out what I'm doing here.
All right. Yeah, some interesting picks here off the board. Yeah, like I like the Fiala pick a lot. I think Fiala is he's just a safe player. And yeah, if we believe the narrative, I think that yeah, there might be a little bit more offensive ceiling in LA there, maybe a little bit worse defensive environment. So that's a weird thought. But yeah, I mean, Chris Kreider goes, Erik Karlsson. I like Erik Karlsson this year. I think he's getting faded. I talked about Malkin the other day too. Like as I just don't understand the fade here. Nate, why did you do that? Oh God. I mean, okay. Well, talk to me about your pick, Nate, because that's a player I was praying would fall to me, but no, you're just having a good time, aren't you?
I am having a good time. I also feel like we talked about Josh, and it was a little bit of a surprise that he went with Mishkov at the top, right? I feel like Johnson could be the guy where we're like, yeah, that was the guy that you wanted, and this time next year he's an auto keep, like no matter what.
Yep.
And so to get him here, that just feels like pretty solid value.
Beautiful.
I feel happy about that, just given the upside and the possibility that he could be in keeper conversation this time next year. Also fills out, center right wing, dual eligible,
Yeah,
gives me
love
right
that.
wing. Yeah, just kind of all of the above there. It feels like makes a little bit of sense there. I am gonna have to figure out what I'm gonna do at defense at some point. I am pretty comfortable like filling out forward more and more and more, and just loading that side up. But in a points league, like you know me, you do the same thing, Blake. We like to get the D in there early.
Oh my God, you're not even hiding that innuendo this time. That's Nate is. This is how happy he is. He's just popping off. He's like, imagine this. You go into a draft and you're like, oh, there's another guy I like. Bang, you're on my team. Oh, another guy. Bang, you're on my team. This is insane. I'm gonna be doing what Nate's doing, but in like 4 rounds. So at like ADP 140, I'm like, I got 3 picks. Wow, this is great. Yeah, I'll get Blake Coleman, Martin Pospisil, 2 Flames. Yeah, I'm gonna definitely do that. And then I don't know who's somebody else that stinks. I don't know. Whatever. Never mind. This is terrible. Look at this draft board, Nate. This is embarrassing.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna add Charlie McAvoy to the squad
Oh,
here.
God.
That feels good as a third defenseman for sure.
Wagon.
But yeah, I feel like I'm building the core the right way here. Like Reese's Pieces did this last year, and he ended up winning the league. And so I feel like this is kind of like a good way to go with the keeper format in general. Like if it is just like a blanket keep three, there's no like keep it in a certain round. It's just pick your 3 guys. You keep those 3 guys year after year after year. I feel like this is probably the way you want to do it. You make a run a year, you trade everything, you go all out, and then you take it on the chin for a year, and then you're back in the year after, right? Try to trade for as many picks and get yourself back in the race. I don't know. Do you think that's generally how you're going to play it? It seems like that's how you played
Yeah.
it so far, Blake, but do you
I
think that's
mean,
how it's going to go?
I always play to win. So Dynasty and Keeper is a new concept to me. I've only been playing that for 2 or 3 years.
Right.
And, of course, Hutch takes Matt Barzal. This guy chirped me on Matt Barzal this year, and now he's going for it. I think Josh Hutchinson has been reading all3zones.com because he likes himself some Matt Barzal. But anyways, yeah, this is an interesting way to play because, yeah, this year for me, I have no chance. And like there's no amount of skill. Like I can stream my brains out and maybe break even, maybe be over 500, but it's just, yeah, it's interesting. But if you win, it's all worth it. It's absolutely worth it if you win. And that's what you did in the first or second year of this league, right? You just cooked, went all in and then won your championship. And that's all that matters, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm pretty set with that strategy in this kind of format to just kind of have a year to go all in, whether it works or it
Yep.
doesn't. You go all in, and then you take it on the chin for a year, and then you go back in the following year. Just try to accumulate as many picks as you can in between. Brian Russ goes.
Yep, there you go.
I was thinking about it. I didn't know if I was gonna have to do it this early if I wanted him. There are still other players that are like in the range, so I'm not like that sad about it. But everybody knows I think I got a huge projection on Brian Rust. What do you think I should do here, Blake? Should I go back to forward? Should I keep filling out the defense? What's the right play here?
I don't know. Honestly, I think your defense is probably good, and I'm looking at defense. There's still some pieces there, but I don't know. You know me. I'm all about offense, and I think that I'm ranking a bunch of forwards above defensemen here. So I would be surprised if you went defense here with some of this offense that's still on the board.
Yeah, the only thing I'm kind of putting out there is I'm not really feeling the center only scenarios here. Would like to go back to right wing if possible. I think it's gonna have to be Mr. Jordan Kyrou.
What are you doing?
Welcome to the squad. I don't have Kyrou much anywhere. I'm thinking about this is one of the things that drafting 150 teams on drafters will do to you. You start to think about like what percentage of teams you have these guys on.
Yeah, yeah.
And Kyrou, St. Louis has a not great schedule that doesn't really align with a lot of other teams. And so Kyrou is going in a place where he's like okay value, but not great. And then the schedule is against him. And so I ended up not getting Kyrou like very much at all in
Yep.
drafters, like lower than you'd expect just based on randomness. And so I'm kind of like in this spot where um, I'll pick up Kyrou in a managed league like I have him here, and I'll probably feel pretty good about that and probably feel pretty good about his production, but it kind of counterbalances my portfolio, if you want to call that, in some other
Yep.
leagues. Once you get to a certain number of leagues, and if you're playing best ball in a big way, then that actually does start to play with your mind a little bit. I don't know if it's good process or anything, but I think it does enter your mind maybe.
Yeah, I think you're right. But I ended up doing that last year. I mean, I had eight leagues or whatever, and when Zach Werenski went down early in the season, I was like, oh god, like
Yeah.
this is just gonna submarine my teams right now. It's just hard when you see your guy out there, especially at value. You got to snap him up, but I mean, yeah, especially in best ball, that makes total sense. Like you got to put together different rosters, right? So you give yourself the best chance to win.
Yes, I am on the clock
Oh,
here.
jeez.
This is the last of like my big run of picks, and it'll settle down a little bit more from here on out. I'm debating two players here. I probably shouldn't say it just because I don't want to table talk for anybody who's listening and who's in the league. Um, but I think I want to go with the dual eligibility here. DeBrincat has played on the top line and top power play.
Mhm.
I think he's got pop off potential. We've seen it in the past, the 40 goal potential, right?
Yep.
Um, I have some other players ranked a little bit higher in my projections. Um, that are also intriguing, but the left wing, right wing, and the ceiling play here, where I'm adding him, as my second utility spot. I'm okay to take on a little bit of risk there. We know there is risk as well because we all saw how terribly last season ended.
Right.
But yeah, how do you feel about that pick? I feel pretty good about it, but how do you feel about that one, Blake?
Yeah, it's. I think the floor is solid. Like we know, first off, he's got the dual eligibility, which is really nice. Top line, top power play, pretty damn nice. I think he has that potential. It's just, yeah, the Wings were extremely efficient last year, and I think it's reasonable to expect a drop off there. But I don't know. I'm expecting, bounce back seasons or even better seasons for guys like Lucas Raymond. And obviously Larkin is, he's doing pretty well. I like Gustafson there as well on the back end. So we'll see. It's a great pick. And like where we are at the draft, I think you're loving that dual eligibility there. Top line, top power play. Boom.
Yeah. Yep, that's how I feel. Blake, you're coming up here. Do you have a target in mind already? Like, how are we feeling? Are your hands shaking? You finally get to scratch the itch. You got to make a pick.
Oh God, this is just so painful. Yeah, I guess I feel good. It's weird stuff, man.
Yeah, this is where I was
Yeah,
last year.
it's hard to get excited. Like, I mean, I just keep seeing my players go off the board. Like, I got my players ranked here, and it's just like off the board, off the board, off the board. And now, yeah, it's already slim pickings to me, and I'm not
Mhm.
loving that. But that's fine. Oh God, yeah. And then Rupe Hintz, of course. Like
Yeah,
that's a guy I'm looking at. I don't care about center only at this point. So
yeah.
we'll
Yeah,
see.
that is something you did for yourself too, though. Like you have
Yeah.
Draisaitl, you have Forsberg, you have Boldy, so you have some dual eligibility there with Draisaitl and Boldy, and then you
Yep.
have the obviously you don't have anybody who's center only right now, so you could definitely just kind of go best player available off the top here. If that is center only, you don't have to feel too bad about it. So you did leave yourself that much. Savkovsky goes off to Skinner.
Hmm.
Jared McCann was the other player that I was
Yeah.
debating at the
No, I
last
had.
pick, and so yeah,
I was
just
hoping he
wanted to
would jump
shout
to
that
me.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would have been a nice spot for you here. So Blake's on the clock. We won't try to talk to him while he's deep in thought about which of these studs he'll add to his roster here. But I think we're getting to an interesting point in the draft where we are going to get a little bit more of people's takes entering into this a little bit more, and less of the like status quo, I guess, like the top. I don't know, it feels like to a certain point in the draft everybody's drafting the same players, and then after that people start to take their swings, take their shots. So you went with Brock Besser. Talk to us about your boy.
Yeah. I mean, it's a floor play at this point. I feel like I don't want to take a bunch of swings right now. I just want to be competitive. I want my team to be competitive. I want to be in these matchups and have a chance to win. And Brock Besser, like I like what I've seen so far in the preseason. He's good to go. He's with JT Miller. He's on the top power play. That's not going anywhere. Although in this league, power play points, not like it doesn't have power play points, so you don't really need that. But I think we're looking at a 70-point player here with a bunch of goals. Besser in the offseason has been talking about scoring 50. And I was like, okay, Besser, like slow your roll there, you beauty. But I mean, I've been calling this guy Hyman Light, and I think that this is a player I know is not coming back to me. Where there are other players that I've got valued pretty high that I think might come back to me. So that was sort of my choice here with Besser, and I got right wing as well, which I like.
Right. Yep. I don't have a problem with that pick there. There's definitely other players that I would have considered, but he would definitely have been in that range. I think, and yeah, it is a different scenario, right? When you're in these keeper leagues, and you have a core already, but you have to decide, yeah, what kind of player are you looking for? Are you looking for that floor play where you know what you're going to get and it's going to be solid, or are you kind of looking to take those swings? I talked about DeBrincat, who's obviously fits in that kind of high risk, high reward mold.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel pretty confident about taking that swing when he's, not in my top 6 forwards here that I've drafted. That feels pretty safe to me to take a big swing there. If it misses, I've probably still got some other options, and I'm not going to be too sad about it in the end. But I think that it makes sense too when you're trying to build a core for your team still. There's still upside with Besser. Like he could, take another step this year. They've really challenged him, it sounds like, to kind of have a career year and get himself paid after this season. And, some players respond to that kind of thing. And definitely wouldn't want to be the guy to doubt a guy like Brock Besser, who's been through a lot and come out the other side and been a really good player. So definitely think the guy's a beauty and he deserves it. So I hope it comes through for you.
Thanks, buddy.
Almost on the clock here. Talk to me about anything interesting. Talk to the people about the goalies here and where they're coming off, Blake, while I try to figure out who I'm going to pick.
Yeah, sure. I mean, this league, this is, to me, when you look at the settings of a league and you see how much it does not favor goaltenders, it doesn't make any sense to me to try and lock down a big time goalie. I'm just not here for that. Like I'll draft them probably with my last 2 picks. I don't give a damn. Like it's, we'll be able to stream players in. I think the forwards and defense are where the value is, but I mean, all the right guys are off the board, it makes total sense, but I don't know. I'm not into it. And yeah, even James FHT Binksy went 2 goalies already. I'm not here for that. I think one thing that will be nice for them though, is they're not going to have to stream any goalies this year. But also, I was mentioning this on the pod the other day. Like when I picked up Sorokin off of waivers because some ding dong dropped him in my home league, and I still had a problem dropping him. I'm like, no, I can't drop Sorokin. What if he pops off? It's like this weird mental block. And so now you've got like James has Shesterkin and Ottinger. Like those are potential keepers, like in a lot of formats, right? So now what? You're going to get rid of Connor Bedard or Matthew Tkachuk? I don't know. It's like I'm just not really here for that. But I mean, like he has so many picks. Like, I guess when you have a bunch of picks as well, it's like, yeah, give me some good goalies in there as well, right? Like, it's not even a big deal at this point. But I don't know. I feel like 0G, like I'm all over that, and especially in this league, it's like 0G. 18 skaters mark went 0G last year, like
Yeah.
no goalies, and he almost made it to the finals, right? Like he had a really good team all year, so that's where I'm at with goalies this season in this league. That's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think that makes some sense from my side. It's
Oh, you picked up
intentional, right?
Ehlers? God, what are you
Yeah,
doing?
my pick was Ehlers. I think I'm comfortably into the range where I am trying to find just like the biggest upside shots to take. I feel like the core of the team's pretty set,
I
and I'm
hate this.
willing to just go after it and see if I can kind of hit big on a few picks. So I'm feeling okay about that. Justin Folk goes. That was a potential target at defense. There's still some other guys out there for sure, but I like that pick. Feeling pretty set with my top three, and I don't
Yeah.
really feel like I have to go D unless there's like a screaming value on the board.
Yep.
Definitely don't feel I'm quite there yet. I think I might reach a little bit and get fun with this one. Um,
Sweet.
just because I do think there's a huge, massive breakout scenario for Dylan
Oh
Ganther
yeah,
this year.
dude.
So yeah, this is a spot. This is a league where I'm gonna have these guys, right? Because I had the draft capital early to get the core of the team set, and so I feel a little bit
Oh
more free
man.
to take these shots. And I definitely wanted to have Ehlers and Genther in at least one league this year, hopefully more, but missed on both of them in Cacuffle over the weekend in the auction drafts. So to get them here feels pretty good.
I'm loving your team, buddy. Holy. This is super fun. Yeah, I picked up Ehlers in one league, like actually my home league that I was talking about. I got the first overall pick. So I got McDavid, I got Tage, I got Robertson, I got Ehlers, I got Natchez. Just all my favorites. I got
Oh man.
Werenski. Like it was just like it's going to be the funnest team that I've ever had. And that's what your team is shaping up to look like right here. This is going to be fun.
We should get back to some comments. Reese's Pieces asks, what's your general strategy for weathering the bus cycles for keepers? Target younger keepers, try to target players with most value in trades. Honestly, I don't really try to target younger keepers, or at least I haven't done that so much so far. I've kind of just looked at my team and kept the best guys every time. And otherwise just tried to make trades. And I feel like if you're kind of doing this cycle, this up down cycle, then you're gonna have these shots where you can take on these guys, like I talked about. With the Wyatt Johnston pick, you feel like you have some leeway to make that pick. Take your shots on these guys who could be those keepers for you the following year. If one of your guys ages out or something like that, has a down season, you don't want to keep them. You don't think the value's there anymore. So that's kind of how I'm viewing it at this point. Seth Jones goes, Jake Sanderson goes. The D are starting to fall off here. That makes some sense to me. Seth Jones was definitely a guy that I could have had some interest in. And we're coming up on another Blake pick. And Fuge, Nate's going to bring Blake's guys to the finish line. That's an interesting way to phrase that for sure.
Yeah, those are my guys. Yep.
Fired up,
Yeah.
wanted to know what you did to end up with no picks.
I tried to win it all, my man. And I would, you know what? I would have. I had a great finals week. It's just Reese's Pieces had the highest scoring week of the entire season in the finals against me.
Yeah.
And he had wild. McDavid. It was insane. So, like, no one would have beaten him there. So it stinks. I went all in and, fell short. And, I tried my best and I failed miserably. The lesson is never try.
Some great life lessons with Blake Creamer on the podcast here. All right. Well, I'll let you get into the weeds here and try to figure out what you're going to do with your pick here. As we got Hannafin coming off. So, the D are starting to dry up a little bit for sure. There's still some names that I'm into a little bit, but definitely it's thinning out. Yep. I can say that much.
Showing no good.
I'll talk a minute. We'll let Blake make a couple picks here and we'll come back to him, but I'll talk to some comments. A Kyle says, Nate was watching your video from the auction draft. Can you explain how you calculated dollars per value over replacement VORP and ultimately estimated auction draft price? So yeah, basically, I figured out what the total budget of the entire league was. In this particular league, it's a 16-team league, $260 budget for each team, so 260 times 16. And then I did divide that by the value over replacement in fantasy points per game played for each player, and I split it specifically into forwards versus defensemen. So I had those as two different value over replacement calculations. And so the value over replacement, basically, I just found the 16. There's 4 defenseman slots, so 4 times 16 teams. 64 defensemen. I found the 64th ranked defenseman and set that kind of as 0 in terms of fantasy points per games played. And then did the same at forward, and then used that whole sheet, summed it all up, and said these are the fantasy points above replacement that are available, and then used the budget, the total budget, 260 times 16, divided by that sum of all the fantasy points over replacement. And that got me a dollar value per fantasy point over replacement. And then I just just basically did the multiplication for each individual player's projection. That's how I did it. I don't know if that's the best way to do it, but that's how I did it. And it seemed to work okay for me. Blake, you got to tell us who you picked and why.
All right. Yeah, I needed to get on the D train here, and Chikrin was the one showing out the highest in my rankings. So, it's one of those players that you mentioned the other day, like kind of this contingency pick, right? Jacob Chikrin, like he does well enough at even strength. I think he's good for 40 points, maybe 45. But if Carlson goes down, then Chikrin runs that power play. That's nice. Double-digit goals. I feel fine there. And yeah, coming back around, I got my guy, Martin Necas. I love the dual eligibility. I've got this guy everywhere this year. I'm really excited about the player. I think it's a 70-point player this year, with room for more. But I'm valuing him as a 70-point player. I love the dual eligibility, and yeah, I've actually got some pretty good leeway with my team here. I've got lots of dual eligible players, so I'm happy about that. And then I can kind of hopefully target some center onlys here soon, because there's still some good ones out there.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense in terms of the way you get to attack it here. I like the Vince Dunn pick. If it's a 1A, 1B situation again, then Vince Dunn is pretty undervalued across all leagues, in my opinion. Still a guy who's going to score 50 plus points. He's really efficient at even strength. He has kind of taken a step back in terms of the peripherals. I wonder if that changes under Bilesma. Sometimes you see new coaches come in and, players want to impress the new coach or something, so they're blocking pucks and throwing hits again. Sometimes that happens, sometimes it doesn't, but there's at least a chance that we get some improvement on those stats from Vince Dunn, and then he could push up the list even more. So I like the Vince Dunn pick, especially after you've seen a lot of guys come off with just okay fantasy upside the way that we see it right now. So definitely don't mind that pick. Let's get back to some comments. Blake's got a couple of picks back to back coming up, so we'll let him concentrate. Kyle said, very helpful. Thanks, Nate. You guys have great content. Appreciate that. Michael said, Bouchard is my keeper. We have a move up to each year. He's currently my 20th round pick this year. So yeah, you're going to be hanging on to Bouchard for a little bit for sure. You're going to be loving life on that front, I do believe. Nazem Kadri goes. Radko Gudas goes. That's an interesting pick in this league for sure. He's definitely does the captain narrative? Oh, James says Gudas wasn't supposed to go there.
Yeah,
a misclick.
Whoopsie doodle.
It happens to the best of us. Marchand goes. That was you, Blake. You went with Brad Marchand and Brock Faber. Why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, I mean, Brock Faber, he's going to be a minute muncher. We know that. The metrics aren't really there, but he's still a young player. So there's a chance those improve. I mean, I'm not banking on it, but I am banking on massive deployment to kind of get me where I need to go. Hits and blocks. He doesn't really hit very well, but I think lots of blocks for him. Probably a 40 to 45 point season as well, with room for more. He's sounds like they're going to give him that power play 1 run, which, I mean, that's a great power play there in Minnesota. So I feel good about that. Who did I pick? Yeah, Brad Marchand. He's falling in drafts. It's crazy. Like, I really think that the reports of his surgeries and stuff is kind of good news. It's like, yeah, I got all those things sorted out. Like, he's going to be good to go. I feel like if he was playing the way he did last season with all those injuries that he was dealing with, we could still see like a 65, 70 point Marchand here. And that power play is going to be better, I think, with Lindholm in there. So I'm low key into Marchand at value this year. And that's where I've been getting him. He's dropping down the draft board.
Yeah, I don't mind it. I mean, I think there's some appropriate caution being thrown out there by people, who just aren't sure what Marchand might or may or may not have left in the tank at his age. And I think that's a fair question to ask. But yeah, if he's anywhere where he was in the previous years, then it's definitely value. JJ Paterka is a good spot to grab him here in the 11th. I'm surprised he lasted that long, to be honest. There wasn't really much of a chance. I didn't think that he'd come all the way back down to me, but I'm a little bit surprised he lasted that long. And of course, it was Mark 18 Skaters who got him, so that's
Legend.
lovely. Let's get back to some comments. Fired up, still chirping you here, Blake. Are you seeing this?
Oh God, he's starting to fire me up a little bit. You know what I mean? But that's fine. I mean, he's little broing me. Oh my God, buddy, I'm a 44-year-old man. I'm distinguished. All right, I got a salt and pepper beard. I got a bald spot. I mean, what do you want?
Oh dear. I love to have.
He's on notice. He's on notice right now.
Okay. We're starting to get to that range where everybody is not sure. It feels like everybody's casting around trying to find, is there one more sleeper here who I like? And nobody's too sure about it. Nichushkin, getting that guy in there. I mean, I don't mind that at this stage, right? Get your guy, throw him on IR. There's still names out there, but I don't think, like, it'd be pretty surprising if we got a league winner from this far down, right? Yep. So in that case, I can kind of get behind it a little bit. It's not the deepest of leagues, so you can probably skate by with some good waiver wire work until Nichushkin arrives, and then he's if he was healthy, he would have gone much higher than this, right? So the points per game is definitely probably more valuable to you than anybody else here. Then we get, we didn't get the next pick yet. I thought I saw another one come off. Let's go back to the comments for a moment. Xavier Dion asks, Cats League that counts face-off wins, Tavares or Verhaeghe? It's a good question. It's probably, it does depend a little bit how much you can stomach the center only from Tavares. If he's like your first center and you're stocked up at wings already, then like that becomes really not that big of a deal to me. Yeah, that's probably a contingent question, I think I would say, because I do really like Verhaeghe this year, but with face-off wins, Tavares absolutely will crush that for you, and that's definitely super valuable. It's just a little bit a question of whether you can withstand the center only or whether you do need to actually be considering the positional eligibility there a little bit more. So that's what I would say. If you have the center only room, if you got like in this league we have 2 utility spots, then it becomes a lot more palatable to have another center only. Then in that case I might go Tavares to get those face-off wins. Otherwise I'd probably go Verhaeghe. We're almost back to another Blake Creamer pick, another pair of Blake Creamer picks coming around this turn here. I'm still waiting to see one of my name pop up in the list again, but I guess I had my fun, so I can't be too mad about it.
Just calm down, Nate. All right, your team's a wagon. I hate this. It's terrible. And to be honest, I'm not loving my team. This is not an exciting team. I feel like I'm trying to take kind of some floor plays, like I said. To me, Marchand is a floor play. Big time. I think it should be good to go. Let's see. Okay, buddy. This is what I wanted. I am going to go with Fantilli. We're going to take a ride. Yeah, this is so I've been going floor plays, but I do want a little bit of a piece of someone exciting, and I think Fantilli, he's shown out obviously in the preseason here. I love that. And I'm back up. Oh my God. Damn, we still got so much stuff here. Okay, let's see. You go ahead. You talk amongst yourself, Nate.
Talk amongst myself. I will definitely do that. We got Xavier back in. Tavares is center left wing on Fantrax. Oh yeah, so then I think you do go with Tavares in a face-off wins league
Hmm.
because he's gonna crush face-off wins for sure. Wick says Fantilli's getting slept on so hard this year. I tend to agree. We've talked it to death, but both of us really think that if Columbus wants to score goals this year, they're probably going to have to uh, lean into Adam Fantilli as the guy to get that done for them. Blake, you took Troy Terry. How are we feeling?
Not awesome. He's not at the top of my list, but he's line one, power play one, best off night schedule in the league, dual eligible. I mean, it's a guy we're excited about perennially, but it's just never hit really. He's been wetting our whistles and not really performing. So giggity. I do think there's a 70-point player in there, the bones of a 70-point player, but we'll see. Cutter Gauthier looks good to me too. Looks good with Leo Carlson out there. I don't know what they're going to do with the lines. Hopefully Zegras, like they got him on the left side now doing a bunch of crazy stuff. So I don't know, but I do feel like Terry is probably one of the safer picks on Anaheim, and he should get the power play one deployment.
Yep. Yeah, I don't mind that at this point. There's always a chance things go to a little bit better in year two, and you get a little bit of value out of that pick. Um, and either way, I like Troy Terry. It's hard for me to hate a Troy Terry pick
Yeah,
when I
yeah.
like the player so much. So
He's an
um,
exciting rush player, like a really exciting rush player, and I love that.
yeah. So we're getting into the pick your guy, pick your poison kind of area of the draft for sure. I think it'll be interesting to see what we get. We got Mark 18 Skaters got 4 of the next 10 picks or so here.
Here we
So
go.
that'll be fun. I'm sure all of the great sleepers will get rung off in a row. So that's fun. Raj snaps up Rob Thomas, who lasted this long. Rob Thomas is definitely devalued in this format for
Yep.
sure, but does still seem a little bit surprising that he lasted this long. Macklin Celebrini, that's one I thought might come off a little bit earlier just because of the potential keeper value if he has a pop off year in San Jose.
Yep.
There could be some value there. Um, Definitely think there's some value. You do start to see the center only start to pile up at the top of
Yeah.
the draft
Starting to
board.
get stinky.
Starting to get a little bit stinky, but that's how we like it. So
Oh my God. It's like a finely aged cheese. All right. That's
yes,
oh. What like who went like the cheese stinks. Why are you eating it? But people are like, oh, this is delicious. Like gorgonzola, get the hell out of my sight. It literally has mold on it. Why are you putting that on a freaking sandwich? No. Anyways, I'm digressing.
I find it hard to disagree with you. I tried blue cheese again for the first time in years this past weekend, and I was instantly reminded why I don't do
Yeah,
that to myself.
it's a problem.
Um, yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I just
it's not good
not
for
my
anybody.
not my favorite. Fired Up said that we're sleeping on his next pick.
What was his next pick? What do we
Ricard
got?
Raquel.
Raquel. Oh, because he got power play one fired up. It's going to be the bunt cake, buddy. You know what's going on. They can't keep the bunt cake off power play one. All right. But yeah, that I like that pick actually. Whoever gets it, him or Bunting, I think is going to be the value there. We've seen that with Raquel and Rust, but Rust has separated himself for sure.
Yeah. This is getting sparse, and I'm not
Ooh.
enjoying what I'm looking at with my next pick finally upcoming again. It's getting gross. I might just take some swings here, see if I can hit on something. But I'm not like I don't know how much I believe in any of these picks that I'm trying
Yeah.
to talk myself into at this point.
None of this looks
There's
good.
none of this looks good. There's not like a ton of picks that I'm looking at where I'm like, okay, like this
Yep.
could actually contribute significantly to me winning my
Yep.
league this year.
No, it's not. It's no good. No bueno.
But we will get somebody that makes us feel all warm and
Warm and fun.
fuzzy.
I'm right
Yeah,
with you. That's what we call synergy, folks.
that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We
that
always
is
do
what you
that.
get
Yeah.
after podcasting. We should figure it out. We must have done like 100 plus episodes
I
together
think
at this
so.
point, right?
I was trying to talk to my wife the other day. I'm like, I think I've done like 200 podcasts, maybe. Like,
Yeah.
Maybe. I mean, that might be high, but I'm in the vicinity, maybe 175. I don't know. That's a lot of podcasting, man. And especially after that projection episode, holy man.
Oh
Like
yeah.
that was a slog, a really fun slog, but damn, 16 hours of content. Sheesh.
That was a lot. Fired up, still talking about his Raquel pick. Shots and hits are dummy. Yeah, if he stays on top power play, like I can get behind it. But that
Oh,
is the big question.
Boone Jenner. Love it.
Jenner.
Love it, buddy.
Just for you.
That's how you get to biz. All right. I'm gonna roll here.
Oh yeah, you pick and then I pick. You better not take my guy. I actually didn't have a guy, so it was pretty impossible for you to take my guy. But
All right,
I
that's
do
fine.
like Ekholm. That's a
Yeah.
good pick in my book. I'm thinking about getting a little crazy here.
Ooh,
I don't know if I have to just yet, but I'm not like I'm staring at a huge tier at the forward,
Mm-hmm.
and I think I might just swing for the fences a little bit.
PLD.
I think I might do the
Is it
Grant
time,
Clark
mate?
thing.
Oh God, nice.
Now that I'm thinking about it, I'm second guessing myself because I have said Boakvist over Brant Clark. These are kind of two guys that I view very similarly at the
Yep.
moment. I think I'm gonna go Boakvist actually because it really does seem like they're
Smart.
gonna give him the run, and if he runs well with it, like it could actually end up being a guy that I hold all year long. Like that's within the range of outcomes. Brant Clark, it really does feel like it's a bit of a situation where as soon as Drew Doughty's there, it's Drew Doughty's job again. Like I feel
Yep.
like
Yeah.
Drew
He's
Doughty
going.
has
Yeah.
that kind of gravity, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. Kyle says projection episodes some of the best on YouTube. Thanks for that. We thought so too. We really thought that the content we got out of those and what we put out there was some of our best work, but it was a
absolutely.
bit of a slog to get it out for sure. Fired up, wanted Boone, missed that. Kyle listened to all the projection episodes, and Reese just wants to let us know that we were talking about his boy.
Yeah,
PLD.
I love that. I'm so here for this take. Pete, you're a dang legend. All right. You know what? We got to get PLD on the pod. Seriously. Does anybody know PLD? We got a shout out from Vinny Tro, which was, basically made my year. I need a shout out from PLD. All right. I know he's a salty old barnacle, but maybe, just maybe, he has a soft spot for Fantasy Hockey Podcast. Come on.
If anybody knows Pierre-Luc Dubois, send him our information.
Yeah, give him Nate's information, like his home address. All right. Because this guy's been talking a lot of yang. All right. And it's unwarranted.
Open door policy for PLD.
Oh,
at my
man.
house for sure.
Nate is taller than he looks on camera here, folks. I met him in person. I was like, oh, dear God. Yeah. Nate's a bit of a beef for himself. So there you go.
Yeah, all 150 pounds of me.
Okay.
Michael says, PLD, he's dynamite.
He's
Excellent
dynamite.
reference. That's a great song.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You got to say it in the Metallica voice, too. A PLD. I don't know why, but that's fine.
You could have done more. I would have listened to more.
Yeah, no, that's what I do. I just yammer on and steal people's thunder. Oh, we got goalies off the board here. Nate, is it time? Do we got to get goalies now?
Do we give the green light? Is that what's happening?
I
don't know.
No, the answer is hell no. What? No. You guys are crazy. Right?
I just don't feel any type of way about the goalies.
They're out of their minds. Oh, when's Raj going to take Thatcher Demko? That's what I want to know.
That's true. That is one of the bigger questions in every draft. Oh, there he goes.
Oh, did he pick him up?
It's happened.
Oh,
no, Pierre-Luc Dubois.
Oh.
And then Raj took Thatcher Demko.
Oh, we are on fire here.
This is great.
Okay,
great content.
That is good content. Mark took PLD. You know what, Nate? Oh, it's my turn. Oh my God. I was
Make
so
a pick,
into that.
man.
Oh, geez. All right.
So discombobulated. He was sure that he was getting. Thought he was getting PLD for sure. Mark takes him just in front, and then we get the Raj Thatcher Demko pick, which we've all been waiting for.
Okay.
Amazing stuff.
It is amazing. You know what? I've been singing this man's praises. Let's get the biz with Big Gino. We got to do it. This is the old man squad over here, and I'm here for it. I would have taken PLD actually at that spot. So that stinks a little bit, but I'm fine with it. It's not like I want PLD. Yeah. Oh, Mark Stone? I can't do it. Yeah. I just can't do it. I won't do it. I shan't.
I shan't do it.
No. Oh
Reese's
God.
Pieces takes, and that's a good pick. How are you feeling about the dual eligibility at this stage? So, like, if I look at my squad here, I got two center only. I think I've only got, oh no, I have Ehlers and Fiala, who are both left wing only. Might pick up left wing, right wing. I think both of them had left wing, right wing last year.
Yep.
So that could happen throughout the season, but it's not something you want to like completely bank on when constructing your roster at this point. Then I have Rantanen and Genther, who are both right wing only.
Yeah.
How are you feeling in my spot? Like if you got this now where you got two of each of those positions, we have the two utility spots here. Do you feel free to pick up a third, no problem,
Yeah.
or is that starting to enter into your thought process?
I would at this point, like, because we're at streamer territory here. So if it's not working for your roster construction, you just bounce them, right? It's like, but you take the swing. Like, I don't mind that. I can sort it out later. But
Yeah,
yeah, it's like my big guys. That's when I'm looking at schedule and stuff like that. But
yeah. You're on the clock, by the
I
way,
know, I
just to
know,
make sure.
I know, I know.
I didn't realize you were coming up, otherwise I wouldn't have thrown it to you. I wasn't intentionally trying to distract you from making your pick.
Oh, I got a choice to make. Oh God!
What's he gonna do?
All right, I'll take him. I'll take a
Nice.
ride. Yeah, I mean, I got to get a defenseman. I got to swing upside here. But yeah,
Yeah,
what you said is absolutely true. It's like Doughty comes back, he's off the power play if he gets it even, right? We've had the conversation about Jordan Spence. I'm just not excited about Jordan Spence, but I am excited about Brant Clark. Will Spence get more minutes? Probably, right? I think
yeah,
that's a fair thing to say, but I mean, he's not going to get the offensive minutes maybe that Brant Clark might get. And if he does get them, he's not going to be able to do what Brant Clark can do in those minutes. That's my 2 cents on that. All right. Oh God, I'm back. This is terrible. I'm just flailing at this point.
that's all right.
You know what?
I think the good viewers of the channel love to see a little bit of a flail every
Oh
now and
God.
again.
No,
So,
this is terrible. All right. All right. I picked me up some Matty Beniers,
all
the
right.
65-point wonder. He's gonna 60 points maybe. Oh God, yeah. I'm just dropping that, but I like the player a lot. I think it's gonna be. I think he's gonna be really good this year.
Yeah, I don't mind it. I
How many
think
more picks do I have?
the
Jeez.
yeah, you gotta have a few. You got another one after this. The problem that I still have with Beniers and just that kind of those type of players in this format because it values shots pretty heavily. It's just that Beniers doesn't shoot. It's just a tough scenario where he's not a shooter, he's not a big time goal scorer. Like some of the guys who aren't big time shooters are actually pretty efficient scorers,
Yep.
and so they kind of get there in this format regardless. But if he's not either, then that's where it starts to get really tough, in my opinion. Uh, we can go back. I'm coming up on the clock here. I should probably think about what I'm doing here. Is it time for goalie, Blake?
I grabbed one. I grabbed me some Linus Allmark.
I don't hate it.
No, it is what it is, right? Like I do think he's the 1A there, no question. Maybe even more than 1A. So I like that. I think it's time. Darcy Kemper goes a couple picks right after. So I love Darcy Kemper this year, even with the defensive environment there in LA. I still think he's going to be a smash for 0G.
Fair enough. I'm tossing around a few different ideas here. I don't really love any of them, if I'm being completely honest with myself. But I do think there are some fun picks to make.
Yeah.
So I might, man. I have an idea, but it feels a little bit over the top.
Oh my! Let's explain yourself, Nate. I'm intrigued.
You're intrigued. I think I might just go and grab myself a little bit of. Oh, he's already gone. I didn't even see him come off. I was going to take Landeskog.
Oh, nice.
He's
Yeah.
already gone. So now
Yeah,
I got to
someone grabbed him.
recalibrate. That's okay. I can go with Hurdle here. I'm okay with that. I can go with Strome. Actually, I want to go Sharangovich. I'd like this guy. I was trying to pick him up in Kakupful. Was unable to do that. He went right at the end when it was just a few bucks here and there.
Yep.
Yeah, I actually think there is a little bit of ceiling for Sharangovich. The more I look at it, the more I'm into it. Kind of situation with Sharangovich. And yeah, I just think there's a chance that he's actually like the guy out of Calgary this year in terms of like in this setup in particular. I think that could be a realistic case.
Yeah,
And yeah, I'm just willing to get behind it at this point.
yeah,
And yeah,
big
it
time
keeps me
shooter,
away
man.
from the goalies
Yep,
from another round, so that
yep.
feels pretty good.
I do like that. I think that's really solid. Oh man, I this draft has been so weird, man. Like just so disjointed. Like I had a
Yeah.
round where I had 3 picks and like I didn't even remember. Like it was just weird. Like that just passed me by. I don't know. I'm looking at my squad here. This isn't terrible. I got some guys that I like.
That's
Obviously,
that's
like
something you'd like to be able to say about
yeah.
your
I mean,
fantasy hockey teams.
yeah. There's a couple exciting guys there. There's guys that I'm kind of hanging my hat on. Natchez, Beniers. Those are guys that I've been talking about all off season.
Right.
And I got Boldy as a keeper, so I feel decent about that. I don't know. And then yeah, I feel like I could be a 500 team with that, and that's my goal.
Fair enough. We could go back to some comments for a minute while you got a pick upcoming
Yep.
here. Fired up asking my number one exposure on drafters. So the player I've drafted the most is Timo Meyer, 32%.
Nice.
I'm trying to bring that down just a tiny bit. I wanted to keep him below 30%, but he's been kind of consistently the one guy I'm comfortable with in a small range there. So keeps finding his way onto my teams. Then I have Jack Eichel, Kevin Fiala, Jared McCann, Dougie Hamilton, Alex Tuck, Alexander Barkov, Dylan Larkin, Brian Rust. Yeah, I think most people are not going to be too surprised with any of those names. Maybe Dylan Larkin, but that's more a function of just the fact that I think he's really mispriced on drafters where it's forwards and center doesn't come into play. So
Oh man,
there you go. Those are my top guys,
just
just
got
for you.
sniped. Lane
Just got
Hudson.
sniped.
Oh, I was looking at that. I love Lane Hudson late in the draft like this. I think that's a really fun pick. Oh man, yeah, that stinks. I really don't believe he's going to take over from Matheson unless Matheson gets injured. But I still think Lane Hudson can probably pot 40 points and look pretty good while he's doing it.
Yeah, I've thought a lot about the Lane Hudson conundrum, and I feel like this is the time of year where we get hyped up on these guys and he starts
Mm.
playing. And if he's not on power play one and you realize like he doesn't really hit and he doesn't really block and he's scoring at a 30-point pace, you're like, why is this guy on my roster? That's kind of how I feel the early season's going to go. Like, unless he comes out, like, I haven't projected for
No.
just under 18 minutes. If he comes out and he's playing 20 plus, like out of the gate right away, then sure, there might be a little bit more juice to squeeze there and I can get behind it a little bit more. But unless you're projecting that he's immediately going to take over top power play from Mike Matheson, I honestly, like, I don't think Hudson is draftable in most formats,
Mm.
like a 12-team league like this. That's my take, and you can counter it,
Um,
Blake. But yeah, that's where
yeah,
I'm at with them right now.
it's just I just look at who you're picking instead of Hudson. Like it's so the value here is just shot. Like to me, it's upside. And yeah, I think a player like that, he's pretty exciting. Like and I think where there's smoke, there's fire. We've heard stuff out of the dressing room there. We've seen the highlights, right? It doesn't mean a hill of beans when the season starts, right? But I've just heard enough good things about Hudson where I think that he's going to get a little bit of run here. Even in his first few games there, like 20 minutes. He's not getting the Brant Clark treatment, like 15 minutes. This guy's out there for 20 minutes. Just that alone gives me some confidence that maybe we're looking at like a Thomas Harley kind of player. And I'm not saying he's Thomas Harley. They profile a lot differently, but kind of in that vein, like a Thomas Harley light.
Yeah, yeah. For me, it's just a scenario that I feel is like a 90th plus percentile
Mm.
outcome,
Yep.
and I just feel like there's other plays that I can make. Like if you're looking for somebody that can actually stay on your team all year, like Brady Shea for me is definitely a guy. Like I talked about him having that contingent upside as well. Um, yeah, that's just a better bet in my opinion, with a lot
Yep.
of the same upside, different path to that upside. Instead of taking it over from Matheson, in Shea's case, it would be a Yossi injury. But honestly, I don't feel like those are too dissimilar in
Mhm.
terms of their likelihood. And I feel it, yeah, I just feel like it's more likely that you end up dropping Hudson after a week or two than it is that he hits in any kind of big way in the time period you need to for that draft pick to be worthwhile.
Mm.
So that's where I'm at. And Yep. I'd be happy for him to prove me wrong. Definitely a super exciting player, super fun to watch.
Yeah.
Wish him nothing but the best, except for when he's playing my Leafs. But
What a nice
um,
guy. Oh my God.
there's definitely going to be some interesting picks to be made here. I kind of abandoned the spreadsheet at this point.
Yeah,
Merchenko is a
me
guy
too.
I was thinking about. And I'm just kind of looking at swings I can take. Maybe a goalie. I might I might fade goalie right to the bitter end. Last two picks or last pick or something.
Let's go.
That's definitely on the table. Love Logan Cooley, but he hasn't been able to crack even the top power play in any of the lines that I've seen.
Mhm.
So that's making me feel like I still love the player. I still think that there's a pretty good chance that he gets there throughout the season, that he's big time worth it at some point. But yeah, at this point in the season, like to start the year, if he's not there, then I don't think it's super worthwhile. I'm
Yep.
going to go for a swing. I'm going to take Joseph Wall. Of the goalies that are left, I think might be the guy with the biggest upside just because of the team. I think Toronto really likes him. It's really about whether he can handle any kind of load, be a 1A that I think the team wants him to be. Yeah, there's probably half a dozen goalies you can make a similar case for. And here you could say Bennington's more locked in. I just really don't want to be rostering Jordan Bennington because of who he is. And I feel like I'm not giving up much to go to Wall there. So that's maybe a bit more of a fun pick. But if I can't have
Yeah.
fun when drafting my goalies, Blake, when can I have it?
You know what? I'm just happy to hear that you had fun drafting a goalie, Nate. I mean, what this side of you? This is very refreshing. I mean, it feels like you've turned over a new leaf, and I'm here for it.
Something like that for
Yeah.
sure. I got to go back to the comments. Fired Up was talking about the drafter stuff that I was talking about for a minute. All of his exposures under
Wow.
35%. Have one that's 45% right now. That'd be interesting. That's a lot of similar picks there. Xavier asks, do you think Hill or Kemper plays more games? I
Mm.
think Kemper plays more games, but I think Hill's might be more valuable. That's kind of my current take. I think the decor is really solid there in Vegas. I think they're going to play a really good. Bruce Cassidy's probably, if not a top 5 coach, then a top 10 coach in the league. And so I
Yep.
think Vegas will be good regardless of the talent they lost this offseason. So yeah, I think Hill's starts will be more valuable, but Kemper probably gets a few more. I am a little bit worried about Kemper now. Like I know we've been talking him up, that it's a good system, good team, but that defense core has been absolutely decimated now with Doughty out.
Mhm.
Um, Hopefully Brant Clark is the answer, but if you're leaning on a rookie defenseman to be like a guy that actually turns the tide of things for your team in the defensive zone, like
Yep.
that's a tough thing to stomach. So I'm a little bit worried about the defense in LA now, at least to start the season. And so, yeah, it feels like, especially when a goalie's going to a new situation, you want them to like get off to a hot start and like really feel settled in right away. Yeah, that's my take there. Yeah, asking who had more chance to be a true number one. Scaffold Dead said Hill. I actually kind of like that pick. Like I would take Hill over Kemper
Mhm.
personally.
Yep.
I have it that way in my rankings. Like they're next to each other in my rankings, so it's not like it's a huge difference. But Kemper is trending the opposite direction for me, where I think Hill at least has upside. Like depending on what your thoughts of Ilya Samsonov are, but yeah, my memories of Ilya Samsonov from his time with the Leafs are not all kind. So I think there's at least a section during the season where he's going to get stapled to the bench and Hill can probably play, 3 games a week for 3 weeks and he's going to like carry some teams during that stretch.
Yep.
I'm not sure. I'm just not sure anymore that Kemper has that kind of upside with the current status of the LA Kings defense core. So that's where I'm at. How would you parse those two, Hill and Kemper at this point, Blake?
Yeah, I mean, I've had that option in a bunch of drafts so far, and I've always taken Kemper.
Okay.
I do believe in the environment there in LA, even without Doughty. They don't just forget how to play D, right? Like they got a system. It's very like I think they're going to be good to go. I'm not concerned, is what I'm saying. But yeah, it's a very similar situation, isn't it? But I think Kemper has a better pathway to starts. Like Hill has, yeah, Samsonov in there, right? Who's brought in, like he's been a number one in this league before, not a good one, but
Yeah.
he's handled those minutes to some degree, and there's some potential there. So I think who's taking the minutes from Kemper? Like it's going to be Phoenix Copley? No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Big save Dave? Like no.
Yep. It's a fair point. I'm back on the clock here. Yeah, all my favorite guys have definitely gone off at this point. I don't really like anything that I'm looking at on the screen right now. I
It's
guess I
depressing.
could. It is a little bit.
Yeah.
Uh, I didn't actually see. Yeah, Jack Quinn went too. I figured, but it was worth taking a look. Um,
Daniel
yeah,
Sprong.
Daniel
Did you
Sprong.
see
Is
the
that where we're
highlight
at?
that this man did? Oh my God. Come on. This guy's
Yeah,
incredible.
I think I'm gonna go Dawson Mercer here
Oh
just for
my.
the first two games of the season. Plays Friday, Saturday. Get that stream in early, and then I'll drop him and move on after that. But
Like that?
um, yeah, just feel like that's probably the best thing I can do with this pick at this point. Back to the comments. Matt says, got Alex Tuck and Ehlers in my draft last night. Shout out, Nate. Shout out you. That sounds like you made some smart decisions.
Nice work, Maddie.
Justin said, saucer pass in practice made everyone forget D-men need blocks and hits. Yeah, that sometimes happens in the
No, it didn't.
preseason and
Come
training
on.
camp where we get a YouTube highlight and everybody loses their collective minds.
Hey, quick question, Nate. Do I have to
Mhm.
fill out the G spot here, or can I pick another player and then like I can go with one G, right? It's not going to
You
be
can go
some
with
weird thing.
Yeah, you can go with a
Oh,
single goaltender if
all
that's
right.
what you choose to do.
Done.
Fired Up says Hudson is useless in any leagues with peripherals. To be honest, it kind of feels that way, at least until he's on the top power play. Like I think you're getting the bad version of Luke Hughes from last year.
Oh my
Um,
God. Catching strays on the Apples and Geno's Fantasy Hockey Podcast. Lane, we salute you. You're going to be fine. All right. Don't listen to these heathens.
I like the player, as I said. I just really significantly doubt that he's going to provide value for fantasy right away. In a 16-team Cats league, this is G Horn. Took Seelovs in round 16 as my first goalie because of your advice. Hope it works out. I don't mind that. Yeah, like what we talked about it a little bit offline actually, Blake. But yeah, what are you seeing in terms of the goaltending situation? Like Demko situation feels as much up in the air as it ever has at this point.
Yeah, and it absolutely is. Like it's bizarre to me that they haven't given us any timeline. Like
Yeah,
we've heard from the player, we've heard from the coach. It's vague stuff. I mean, the most promising thing is from Demko himself. He's like, "Yeah, I'll be 100% again, no problem. I'll be back to my old self." But when? Like
yeah.
when? So to me, I mean, yeah, what a great pick, or what a great signing in Kevin Lankinen. That's the guy they had earmarked the whole time. But I do think that She Loves is going to get the run here. I think he's going to be the 1A. Yeah, it's going to be probably a tandem situation there, but the Canucks have a great defensive environment. She Loves plays well in that. He's very calm for such a young goalie. I like the pick. I think I took him in our listener league as in the last round as a 0G target. So I'm in on She Loves for sure. I feel like he's going to have a good season.
All right. We are just about rounded out here. My turn's up next. As long as Devin doesn't snipe me, I've got my guy lined up. Jack Hicks asked thoughts on Brant Clark. Yeah, we talked about it a little bit, but basically, I do think there's a pretty good ceiling scenario for the moment there with Brant Clark, and so I'm excited about that. He's been practicing on top power play. I think he gets that. Really, the big question is whether he gets, like the typical rookie defenseman treatment, like okay, you got top power play, but you're still only seeing 18 minutes a night or less, and so that would obviously hold down his fantasy value. But if they start to rely on him a little bit more, 32 Thoughts, Jim Hiller was on there last week, and they asked him if any players were really catching his eye this year. He's like Brant Clark. Like the first
Yeah,
thing out of
love
his
that.
mouth is Brant Clark is a guy who yeah, kind of hit it this offseason and came in with a plan, playing better in the defensive zone, more attention to detail, all the things you want to hear a coach say about a young player. He was
Yeah.
saying about Brant Clark. And so, yeah, that's exciting for me. Again, I don't think it lasts all year long because I do think Drew Doughty is just that guy who absolutely dominates the discussion whenever he's back. He's earned that with his performance in LA over the years, and I think he is kind of that guy who wouldn't take very kindly to somebody unseating him from that role. So that's my take on that situation. And then we got another one. Thoughts on RNH in a Bangers League? I think RNH can have a good year. Probably not much more than a point per game, but I think you should pencil him in around there. In Bangers, obviously, he doesn't really do that, and so he's a little bit discounted there. But sometimes the guys who don't provide that kind of stuff get faded like too much, and so you can actually get some good value. So I like our NH player. I think he's going to have a good year, and yeah, he's been playing alongside McDavid, which is not something he's done a whole lot of previously. So if he spends a whole year on McDavid's wing, definitely you could see him have a better year at even strength than he's ever had. He's spent good chunks of the last number of years playing 3C with a bunch of nobodies in
Yep.
Edmonton. So, yeah, it definitely could be a really solid season for RNH, and I wouldn't be too shy of him just because he doesn't fill out the Cats in a Bangers League. Well, Blake, we should take a look at our teams here. Do you want to go first? Talk to me
Yeah.
about the team, how you're feeling, anything you'd do differently, or what your strategy will be from this point onward.
This is a weird one. That's a weird question for me, just because I didn't have a massive strategy coming into this draft because it was so disjointed and it's hard to tell who would even be there, right? Especially with a bunch of sharp people. So I don't know. My strategy was to take the best player available and try and prioritize offense, but also prioritize floor plays. And I think I did that. I'm happy like getting Malkin there. That's a player I'm into this year at value. And at the value I got him, I think again, 60 to 70 points for Malkin is probably pretty reasonable there. And I feel good about that. I got some exciting players too, like Fantilli. I love Natchez. My Brock Besser pick, like that didn't feel that good to me. I
Hmm.
felt like that's not a player I've been targeting, but I felt like, like Natchez was showing higher than Brock Besser in terms of value, but I got Natchez 2 rounds later, or whatever
Yeah.
it was. So it was more of a strategy play there. But yeah, I mean, towards the end there, we didn't really talk about my picks, but I am happy with some of them here. Like Matty Beniers, obviously, I've talked about him enough. But I picked up Anthony Duclair, Cam York, and Taylor Hall with my last 3 picks. I like that. I mean,
Yeah.
I wanted to stay away from center only at that point. Granted, these guys, I got 2 left wing only, which is not ideal, but yeah, Anthony Duclair, top line, top power play. If he can get in the 17 to 19 minute range on the year, I'm liking a 55 to 60 point Anthony Duclair. I think that's really nice. Then Cam York, obviously that's an upside play that, hoping that he gets power play 1 there in Philly. It's the league's worst power play. So hopefully not again this year. I think Mishkov, we've obviously seen that he's going to make a difference on that power play if Torts, trots him out there the way he should, but he probably won't. I don't know. But I do think Cam York has a leg up there for that top power play spot. So I'm happy there. And then Taylor Hall, I like the off night Chicago has. He's playing with Connor Bedard currently. It's Connor Bedard, Taylor Hall, and Tyler Bertuzzi. That's your line there. And Hall's probably going to get power play 1 as well. I mean, I don't know. 55, 60 point Hall with my last pick. Maybe
Yeah.
50 to 60 points, Taylor Hall, my last pick. I'm here for that. So I feel pretty good about that.
Yeah. I don't know if he's got quite the upside he once had, but
Mhm.
if anybody can pull it out of Taylor Hall, it's got to be Connor Bedard, right? So you got to feel at least a little bit good about that. Olivier asking, do you think Mrazek is still number 1 with Brossoit in? I do. I don't think he's going to get the same kind of extreme volume he got last year, but I do think that Mrazek is still the number 1. The contract they gave Brossoit was not like starter money by any stretch of the imagination. So I still think Mrazek is the number 1 for now. Adawan says, I'm not too into Islanders anymore. Wah said it would be split units. I feel like they try that sometimes and it
Yeah,
doesn't
it's
usually
like a good
last.
idea in theory,
Yeah.
But you got Barzal and Horvat and now Duclair. Like,
Yeah.
trot them out there.
Yeah. And Dobson on the back end is so clearly a better offensive defenseman than any of their other guys. Like, yeah, I feel like it doesn't last even if they do try it. So that's my personal take. I think we can probably wrap it up pretty quickly. I'll run through my team real quick, but then we'll be out of here. So yeah, I kept Barkov, I kept Rantanen, I kept Yossi. And then in the draft, I was able to add Trocheck, Cofield, Fiala, Wyatt Johnson, Victor Hedman, Charlie McAvoy, Adam Boakfist, Jordan Kyrou, Alex DeBrinket, Nikolai Ehlers, Dylan Ganther, Igor Sharangovich, Dawson Mercer, Owen Power. And then my only goaltender on the roster right now is Joseph Woll. Yeah, the last 2 picks, Mercer and Power, those are just for the Buffalo, New Jersey first 2 games of the year. I'll be dropping both those guys after that. Maybe I'll pick up a second goalie after that and maybe one other streamer for the following week. But that feels okay at the moment. Really like the 3D that I was able to build, Yossi Hedman McAvoy, and then added Boakvist as kind of the flyer guy, and then I'll continue to potentially rotate people through there as they heat up throughout the year. Really like the core forward that I was able to build, and this is
Oh man,
why
yeah,
this
this is
is why you
insane.
do the that kind of strategy where you just if the season's not working for you, it's this kind of format where it's just a straight keeper. Trade everything except your top end guys for those picks, whatever you can get from the contenders, and then you're looking at a scenario where even if some of these guys don't hit, you're hoping that a few of them pop off. Hopefully I've got Wyatt Johnston being last year's Philip Forsberg, and I've got Kevin Fiala being last year's Sam Reinhart, and all these guys pop off. But either way, I think this team should compete this year pretty easily. I know some of the other guys did similar stuff, so I'll have to contend with them as well. And other people will obviously have drafted good teams that we maybe don't see the same way at this point in the year. So that is all on the table. I'm excited to see how this one plays out. It's always a fun league, always one that we talk about on the podcast throughout the year and chirp each other for. So I'm glad we got to get some of that
Yeah.
that energy and that feist out here as well. Any last words, Blake, before we get out of here?
Not much, man. I'm just excited to get into it with it this year. This is going to be an awesome season here at Apples and Ginos. Everybody, we are going to crush this season. Your victories equal our victories. We're getting to biz on the regular. I'm super stoked. So happy to be here with my man.
Absolutely. Yeah, if anybody wants to join again, I'm live streaming all my drafts this year. I'm going again 9 p.m. tomorrow night doing the Fantasy Puck Content Creators League, which I won last year.
Let's go.
Humble brag. So, yeah, if you want to come back out 9 p.m. tomorrow night, I'll be right here again doing this all over again. But I think that's all we've got for this episode. Hopefully it brought you some value, helped you get a little bit better at fantasy hockey today. I didn't think we talked about any advanced stats, so
No, we
do
don't
we
do
not?
that here. No.
Okay, we don't need to talk about Natural Stat Trick, which is a terrific free resource.
That's
Then,
true.
many thanks to the band there for supplying the music for the podcast. Be sure to check out their Spotify as well. That's it, folks. Much love.